Welcome back to Too Many Books, the DC comic review show. My name's Dylan. Today we've got 10 books, so let's jump in with Brian Michael Bendis's Justice League and Checkmate, which I will continue kind of saying are essentially the one book. Starting with Justice League 68, this went to ship last week. We kind of pick up after the battle from the last issue, where the Justice League headquarters has kind of been destroyed. And you have a discussion about what it is that the Justice League actually kind of means. What is the headquarter means. They have like a little bit of dialogue about the space station, and we get to kind of like see, not the space station, the Justice League satellite, and we get to have like kind of an idea of what's going on in terms of the broader story around Damon Rose. And Checkmate. So we get to see last issue we had last issue we had Green Arrow and Black Canary coming across the Deathstroke, the different versions of Deathstroke. At essentially we kind of like see the Justice League hunt down Damon Rose, and those Deathstroke are kind of clones, or not clones, but those people dressed up as Deathstroke, trying to create problems for Slade Wilson. We get to kind of see them try and fight against trying to interrupt the meeting in which Damon Rose is kind of officially shown to be, or kind of confirmed to be, Lois Lane's brother. And he was trained by General Lane, who obviously died in Event Leviathan, and we get to see kind of his future. Or what he was essentially offered the opportunity to join this new organization that is being put together by former members of the different intelligence services, which were destroyed in Event Leviathan. So somebody's essentially going one by one, and trying to kind of recruit the best of the best. And we don't know who the person who is doing this is, but Damon Rose claims that he was hired to kill the Justice League, and if he succeeded, he would be, told who this new big bad is. I really like the way that the villain is referred to as like Nightwing with guns, which I think is like kind of a cool description of the character. And yeah, it's really. I'm a huge fan of Bendis' work on Superman, as well as his work on the Justice League titles. And so, I just think that it's really interesting to see where he's going. There was the solicitations from the other week showing that there's going to be, in the annual for this year, we've got Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes. And so I'm really excited to kind of like, I know Bendis is no longer exclusive with DC anymore, but I really hope that he like sticks around for a while, because his form of storytelling and the way that he plays around with the dynamics of the characters is incredibly interesting to me. It also has a backup from Justice League Dark. The Justice League are going off against. Another thing, Naomi is. Her parents see what it is that she actually does as a member of the Justice League, and they're like, "No, you're not. No, you're not doing this. You're coming home with us. It's very dangerous for you as a young child to be like hanging around, and like these are like extinction level events where there's like alien invasions and stuff. Very, very bad. Nobody likes that stuff. Anyways, as I said, really, really interesting series. The Justice League Dark, we have them fighting against Merlin, picking up from last issue. We finally get to see what his plan is in terms of trying to bring forth the Upside Down man. And he kind of describes it, history is written by the winners. And that's the reason why the Merlin of classical mythology, who's, presented as being a good guy, that's actually not who Merlin is. That he's actually kind of, he's like, you think that you are you're the protectors of Earth and of magic, but you're kind of like, you don't know what you're doing. You're pretty incompetent and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, as I said, Justice League number 68, really, really worth checking out if you if you haven't been reading Justice League. This is a good pick up, like jump on issue. Just in terms of the broader stuff in terms of like you might miss a little bit of the minutia around what's going on with Leviathan and Checkmate and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like the actual story of what's going on, it's really, really, really welcoming. Going back, as I said, Checkmate, number 4 of 6. As I said, is again Brian Michael Bendis and David Malieve. I'm going to say David Malieve. Don't think it's David. Anyways, this is a beautiful book. This is the real like sequel to Event Leviathan, whereas the stuff in Justice League kind of gives little flavorings that I think you really are better off kind of like reading them in tandem. But we get to see Green Arrow and the original Manhunter go up the new Manhunter go up onto the Justice League satellite, and they're met by Merlin and not the Merlin from Dark, like the Malcolm Merlin from like the Arrowverse, and essentially, like it's a crime state. They kind of fight them off, and then they are pulled out of the satellite, and they kind of like looks unexpected, and they realize that maybe they're on the tail essentially of on the trail. My apologies of Leviathan, and kind of on the back foot. I've got him on the back foot. And then we get to kind of like see the obviously General Lane in his final breath said something to Lois, and kind of we discover what that is, and she obviously she finds out about what's going on with her brother, but by finding a copy of the birth certificate where the mother is blacked out. And yeah, there's a question as to whether or not the way that Leviathan is in control of these people is by mind control, or whether or not it's just they're fanatics, people who've been kind of brought on board by the argument, right? And so it's a very interesting collection of stories. As I said, between these two issues, it's really coming along. I'm as I said, huge fan of Bendis's work. I'm really hoping that when this ends, that he's got another limited series going on with more Legion stuff, because yeah, it's great. It's really good. If you haven't read the first 3 issues, probably not worth picking this one up. But if you are reading Checkmate, this is the issue where it kind of really starts to kick off. Like not so much kick off, like, because it has been very good, but the pace is really kind of like picking up as we move to the kind of the end of the second act. And so yeah, that's Checkmate number 4 and Justice League number 68. We also have a single issue that I absolutely adored, which is Jean Lewin Yang's Batman Superman number 22. This is the final of this particular series. It's kind of going to be continuing in like their partnership will continue in a different series going forward. But this was originally, I think I said this when I spoke about the annual, this was originally supposed to be kind of like a year of the villain, kind of doing, carrying water for the broader plot in the lead up to Death Metal. And that was the first kind of 15 issues of the run. Obviously, that's kind of reductive because, Joshua Williamson is incredibly talented. But this particular issue it's just a one-shot kind of, it's a love letter to comic books as a medium, essentially. Mr. Spitlick gives the Calendar Man a hat that allows him to see that the world is made of panels. They're comic book panels. And so, he says, something's going to happen in panel 77, and kind of, it's just, I can't put it, this is so incredibly clever. You get to see, kind of Calendar Man is given the ability to be able to see outside of individual panels to like stuff that's going on to the other pages. He like takes a punch at, and if it misses in the panel that he's in, but his fist goes out of the panel, the people who are in the other panel get hit. And it's such like unbridled, incredible creativity. And it's about, this is a very cyclical medium, right? There are no stakes in a Batman comic, right? Even when Batman died in Final Crisis, the event ends with like he's like scratching the bat symbol on like a cave in caveman times or whatever. Like, it isn't supposed to be like, the stakes aren't supposed to be like Game of Thrones, like anybody could die at any moment. And this is about like, why do comic book readers keep coming back when they know what the formula of the thing that they're reading is? I cannot put into words how much I recommend that you pick up this book. It is so unbelievably good. It does not tie into really the rest of the series, but yeah, it's just a simple one-shot comic, and yeah, it's beautiful, like finale for this series, or just like pretty much any kind of like Batman Superman story, or just any kind of like superhero story in general. It's as I said, love letter to the medium, and really can't recommend this anymore because it's amazing. This brings us, obviously, speaking of Batman, brings us into our Fear State issues for this week, which are Harley Quinn number 7 and Detective Comics number 1043. Mariko Tamaki I'm a huge fan of her run on Detective. I think the Huntress like one shot that she did a couple of months ago was also really terrific. And the idea of Bruce Wayne no longer got all of his money. He's kind of living in this townhouse, and just kind of wandering around, essentially. He's no longer Batman kind of going down to his cave. He's kind of like, I'm now going to kind of like go into the sewer, and I've kind of got my little kind of like bat rooms that I've set up, and this, that, the other thing. But that the Detective Comics title has also kind of done a lot of stuff to, previously there was the stuff around the election, and we get to kind of see what happens with the man Nakano and that guy there. And so essentially, Nakano is there are these people who attempt. He has a meeting with Simon Saint, who essentially, it's kind of happening concurrently with Batman 1013. And Simon Saint's essentially, like, I know that there's been some problems with the Magistrates program. However, it doesn't matter. Like, we need to keep going forward. And then he leaves. And the peacekeeper, he's like, doesn't really matter what Nakano wants. The peacekeepers are in control. He leaves, and we get to see some new villain that we don't know. Potentially it's Scarecrow, who knows? But attempt to kidnap him. The guy comes in, starts shooting at him. He escapes out of a grate. This is kind of panic room, and goes down into the sewers, and Batman kind of goes looking for him in the sewers. As I said, the idea of kind of Batman being this kind of rich guy in a townhouse, like interacting with the politics of this, that, the other thing of, Gotham City Hall, I think is a really, it's a cool storyline. And the mystery that this issue sets up in terms of who it is that's trying to get at the mayor, really interesting. Also has the final part of the road to Task Force Z or Z. This is obviously Red Hood has been kind of bought in by, Amanda Waller, presumably, to lead this group of zombies on some mission. The the final panel where you get to see, you get to see obviously from the first hand the journalist who is kind of trying to, I can't remember her name, but she's trying to convince or trying to get like as much as she can and convince her editor to go public about something regarding Task Force Z, right? And Batman's like, you shouldn't do this. Don't publish. You're going to make my job more difficult because he's a little bit of a he's just a little bit of a fascist, but not in a bad way. Maybe in a bad way. As a general rule, kind of going, trying to convince the press not to print, and I guarantee you it will blow up in her face. But yeah, we get to it's setting up the event which begins next month, and the designs on the zombies look ridiculously cool. So yeah, worth picking this up. If you're not reading Fear State, this doesn't really require you to know much about that. It's just a clean, simple, like fun Batman story. I'm as I said, I'm loving this Detective Comics run. It looks beautiful, really worth picking up. In terms of other Fear State titles, we obviously have Harley Quinn #7. This is Harley, Kevin, and kind of some of her followers go off camping in the woods, and Harley starts talking about how she's very tired from all of the things which she's trying to do in redeeming herself, and kind of she pines for Poison Ivy, who has kind of been split off into Queen Ivy and then the kind of like the docile Ivy, and she kind of gets met by the gardener, who kind of like says that she's found Ivy, but not before Harley and Kevin kind of tasked by some person in the park to try and find their dog who's gone missing, and that's exactly what they do. And they end up getting, as you can see on the front cover, attacked by a bear. I love Stephanie Phillips' Harley Quinn run. Not gonna lie, it's really fun. We're starting to kind of like picking up on the stuff from the last issue, which she kind of teaming up with Catwoman stuff. Be really interesting to see how this is going to all come together over the next couple of months. But if you're not reading Fear State, again, there's another issue that you can kind of like pick up, read by itself. But it's a lot of fun. I love Kevin. Kevin's great. We also have Hugo Strange, is essentially trying to he's play acting as Batman and trying to kind of he seems to be kind of antagonistic towards the magistrate, and so it'd be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out going forward for the rest of the event, and in possibly in the Harley Quinn books after the event, because he has been kind of I like that he's kind of become the antagonist of the book. Like I think the last time there's a lot of Hugo Strange stuff in King's run, Tom King's Batman run, but I think that just having like Harley be the Batman assistant, I think, and it's a lot of fun, and I really am enjoying these two Fear State issues. Beautiful. Next week we're back to Fear State. I think it's 114, I think it is. So we'll see what happens. I'm, as I've said, previous episodes, huge fan of Fear State. These are the final two of those wanted variants. We've got this first one with the Huntress, who doesn't actually show up in the issue, but you don't want to have 3 wanted Batman. And then this beautiful Harley Quinn with a baseball bat, kind of doing badass stuff. Really worth, as I said, checking them out. Moving on to the Superman end of things, we're finally getting rid of Superman. Not that we want to get rid of Superman because everybody loves Superman, but the Philip Kennedy Johnsons who had set up in the Future State World at War series that Superman goes to Warworld, fights Mongol, and dies. And these two issues are really they kind of happen parallel with each other. So it's Superman, Son of Kal-El #3, which is Tom Taylor, and then you've got Action Comics 1035. Essentially, in 1035, we're picking up from the last issue where Mongol has sent people to attack the Fortress of Solitude and try and kill Lois. It fails. Clark Superman, what is it? Super Clark. Super Clark has a conversation with the girl who's been sent to kind of kill him and his kill his family and friends and stuff, and is like, I promise you, if you don't try and kill me, I promise you I will go to Warworld and I will free the slaves and I will defeat Mongol. And she listens. Mongol tries to kill her. Superman kind of takes the blast from her machine, puts her in stasis, kind of being overseen by Kellex. And Superman kind of has a conversation with first the Justice League, in which they say, you kept the Genesis fragment, which was kind of the MacGuffin from a previous issue, and the government wanted that. And because of you doing this, we no longer trust you. We can no longer work with governments as the Justice League if you're going to be doing this kind of going off on your lonesome stuff. And so Superman is like, fine, I'm not in the Justice League. That's cool. Everybody's like, good luck. Sorry, we can't come to Warworld. And Batman sits down, has a conversation with Superman in which he says, I know that you're putting together another team, which is, as predicted the other week, it is the Superman and the Authority team. He's going to take, Manchester Black and all these other characters. They're all going to go to Warworld and kind of be the backup Justice League. Even though in the Authority book, he has the white sideburns. He doesn't have those in the other books. Doesn't matter. Don't think about that. It's really cool. It's very fun. We get to have the goodbye with Lois, in which I get back. Yep, we're back. So yeah, I know John's afraid that I'm going to die, but I will make it back. Don't worry. And then they have sex in the sky, where Lois's shirt falls to the ground. Because sex at high altitude. Why not? Really great book. I'm a huge fan of the kind of Warworld stuff, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen over the next couple of months with it's the future state stuff, but the same but different kind of thing. We also get to see the Tales of Metropolis, Jimmy Olsen, and the Guardian. It does what it's doing. There's this kind of group who are kind of there's this digital seance machine that once people put their it's like Jumanji or something. I don't know. They end up they summon this demon who tries to eat them, and will the Guardian and Jimmy be able to rescue the people who are stuck? We will find out in Action Comics 1035, presumably. The other side of the Superman leaving and going to Warworld thing is Superman Son of Kal-El #3, where essentially Tom Taylor really wants you to know that he reads The Guardian. It's the first issue we had this person who couldn't control a power, where they started a bushfire. In this issue we have somebody who's essentially started an earthquake because they have this incredible center of gravity. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't have any memory of how they got their powers. Superman, so Super Clark holds up a building while Jonathan runs through the building and pulls out all of the people, and they kind of have this this is he's my dad is my hero, my dad is my idol. And we then kind of move to There's a collection of refugees whose kind of boats Jonathan has saved. People coming to a country by boats and being saved by somebody, and the government wants to kind of like send them back, refoul refugees, and Superman kind of like joins a protest, and the police are like, we're gonna have to arrest you, and he's like, you arrest me, and so that causes this giant public outcry, and people decide to fight for immigrants and stuff. Which is, as somebody who has lived in Australia and watched, decades of our conversation around asylum seekers, it is incredibly nice to kind of like see it kind of like, because it's social justice, Superman. And I don't mean that in a pejorative sense. It's purely he is like, I am here fighting for like things that matter. And I'm not going to kind of just like do what my dad did, which is like, in the Frank Miller, like he's just kind of like a jackbooted thug for Ronald Reagan. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be a jackbooted thug for Ronald Reagan. Okay. We then have while this action had the kind of goodbye conversation with Lois, we have the goodbye conversation with Jonathan, where Clark says, "Listen, I'm going to be leaving." And Jonathan goes, "I know that you're going to be leaving, but in the history, having gone into the future and being part of the Legion, in history, I know that you're actually going to die. This is the mission that you don't come back from." And Clark kind of, tries to comfort him and kind of is like, "Oh, it's, the future isn't set and this, that, the other thing. And the fact that, we saved all of those people in that building today, those are lives that otherwise would have died. And we've changed the future already." It's got Mara Park Kent in it. I keep forgetting how Doomsday Clock and then death metal continuity kind of line up, but it's Mara Park Kent has a kind of an interesting ending. Be interesting to see how that rolls out coming out of the reintroduction of Mara Park Kent. But I'm Tom Taylor, he's doing great work. Philip Kennedy Johnson doing great work. Be interesting. I think Superman and the Authority #4 was supposed to ship this week or last week, but I think we're going to be shipping next week. So we'll kind of see the conversation that'll happen, I imagine, in which Superman gives the pep talk to his new authority, and where he's like, this is we're going to go off to Warworld and we're going to fucking free the slaves and stuff. Shouldn't be swearing because that'll get this video. Anyways, I don't care. Superman, check him out. Very, very good. Very, very fun. Speaking of very, very fun, you know what? Joshua Williamson, he really knows how to just do crazy fun comic book schlock stuff. Deathstroke Inc. Picking up from one of the stories in Batman Urban Legends #6. You have Deathstroke, Black Canary. They are working for Trust, trying to infiltrate a hive base run by a woman who has turned everybody into bees with this honey. And that's the face. That's the face that you make when you're explaining this. She turns them into bees with honey. It's very cool, though. And you get to see, essentially, they've been sent to try and exfiltrate her out of this kind of hive base. They work together, kind of like doing like lots of really fun, bombastic action stuff. And ultimately kind of leading to a private conversation between Canary and Deathstroke, in which, it's like, Slade, you don't need the money, so why are you here? And he's like, I just I've realized that I'm a real like piece of garbage, and like I'm dying, and I'm dying. He pretends that he's dying, but like I know that eventually, my life is going to come to an end, and there's going to be a balance between the good that I've done and the bad that I've done. And, I want to try and see if I can do a little bit of good for a while. and see how that kind of rests on my soul. Because the kind of idea that he's a little bit off. He's kind of like emotionally, it's like some sort of like he's just like a sociopath or something. He doesn't have the mental ability to like differentiate between right and wrong. Really fun series. The creativity of like, I don't care the mechanics of how the woman turns everybody into bees, but because it's Hive, because it's a beehive. And yeah, Black Canary and Deathstroke fighting an army of bee people. That is what this book is. It's very fun. I keep reading Joshua. Whenever I read a Joshua Williamson book now, I'm always going to be like, how is this going to like move forward his kind of like big 3-act kind of like Infinite Frontier, etc., etc. And this will at some point, no doubt, feed into this, but is purely just kind of, it's cartoon silliness, and it's very fun. We also have Black Canary is also questioned as to like, does the Green Arrow know that you're like hanging out with Hive and hanging out with Trust and join this team? She's like, he's got his own thing, over with Checkmate. I just, we're our own people. We can do our own thing. And it's pretty fun. The other very fun issue from Joshua Williamson is Robin number 6. This is, for those of you who don't know, it is Mortal Kombat, essentially. This is the first round of the Tournament of Lazarus, the League of Lazarus, which is this kind of offshoot of like former League of Shadows members. There's a mystery as to why it is that they have a competition where people fight to the death and get brought back to life and have the opportunity to be given immortality. The fights are very fun. We get to see what had seemed to be Connor Kent being very evil and kind of kicking Robin off of the cliff is actually him like trying to infiltrate the League of Lazarus and find out what's going on. This is a lot of fun. It's a really beautiful looking book. The fights are very cool. You get to see a young child Robin murdering people without consequences because they get brought back to life. But he gets to murder them because he's the son of the demon. That's what he does. Very fun series. Really worth picking up if you aren't reading it and wanting to see like a really fun, just I don't want to have to think about like 60 years of continuity. This is just like give it to your kids kind of thing. A lot of fun. I mean, it's 13 plus, but like give it to the kids, the youth in general. Really great book, really fun. Finally, we have Batman Reptilian number 4 by Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp. I keep forgetting that this is the same like Liam Sharp who like did like the Green Lantern. Like you kind of look at that's his art. That's also his art. It's ridiculous to me, but still, I'm gonna have to leave that there. Still, we finally get to after the last issue with the Joker thinking that Batman's hunting him and this, that, the other thing, and it turns out he's actually been killed by or nearly killed by the reptilian monster who's been going around and killing people as a Black Label book. Garth Ennis has killed like most of Batman's rogue gallery, and so Batman essentially starts putting things together and realizes that the monster is in some way related to Killer Croc. But he finds Killer Croc down in the sewer and realizes that Killer Croc is not the killer. Killer Croc is not the killer, and is in fact like had some sort of hermaphroditic kind of mating thing wherein he has given birth to an even greater monster. This is such a weird book. The art is like so eerie, and yeah, it's so weird. It's so like Batman is like a real kind of he's like a sadist kind of like he really the banter that he kind of has with Alfred in the previous issues, where it's like Alfred is really kind of like Alfred gives him a hard time, but it's not like there's a lot of time in comics where Alfred will give Bruce a hard time, but you as the reader are kind of like, why you come on, Alfred, come on, leave him alone. Like I know he's being a bit of a dick, but you don't have to. This is like Batman is a complete and total monster, and I really, really dig this. As I said, it's absolutely beautiful looking. It's done with like actual painting as opposed to like drawing, and it's just 100% worth checking out if you're just looking for like a weird, odd black label book. And so that kind of brings us to the end. I said 10 books, but for the final book for today, for the final part of today's show, my apologies, we've got our book of the week. And if you didn't already guess what the book of the week was going to be, go and buy Batman and Superman number 22. This is so good. I loved it. I loved it so much. It is, I think I'm just going to end the video and read it again. Really just, it's so much of comic books. One of the thing that I love the most about comic books, well, not that I love the most, but the reason why I love it so much as a medium is that all of these characters exist in the same world and they have the opportunity to interlock and interact and all of this kind of stuff. But for that's kind of like that's when you start getting to Crisis on Multiple Earths and kind of ultimately when you get to Crisis on Infinite Earths, where you're just kind of like, there's so much confusing continuity, we need to blow the world up, which they've been doing every 5 years for 3 decades, right? 4 decades, fuck. This is a book that is like, remember the Silver Age? Remember how it was just like Batman and Superman and they're kind of like fight villains? That's what this is. Comic books as a medium are about. I love this book a lot. Please go and buy it because Gene Luen Yang, he won the Eisner like for this year for his Batman vs. the Klan, and everything that he does is so creative. Like having come off of that, like the annual for this, where it's like the backwoods book meeting in the middle and the film strips and the kind of the Silver Age stuff, to then just go and you keep showing up because you want to see the heroes win. And that's exactly right. It's beautiful. Absolutely magnificent. But that's it for another week. Too many books, which I do. So I do read too many of the books. But thank you so much for tuning in, and hit that like and subscribe, and let me know what you're reading. I'm thinking about jumping into like other non-DC books, not for the show, but just for my own edification. So I don't know anything about the Marvel universe, as I know more than like normal people, but as a comic book nerd, I don't know as much as like all this DC nonsense. So anyways, let me know what I should be reading, what you'd like me to talk about, whether or not you think this show is a waste of time. And I will see you next time, regardless of whether or not you think it's a waste of time, because I'm bitter and spiteful and stubborn. Good night or good day.